There it is, ladies and gents. We have managed to get that big pump to the upside that we were expecting. And in this video, I'm going to be covering with you 2 or 3 possible scenarios and just what I'm seeing about this chart in terms of potentially getting rejection, potentially breaking out upwards and some really exciting price targets. This is going to be a really big one, and I'm actually super excited for it. So here's the deal. Let's first talk about what happened before we got this pump. We were in this ascending channel, which if you guys were subscribed to the YouTube channel and regularly watching this content, you're going to know I was saying that this kind of pattern when Bitcoin trades up and then just continues to trade up a little bit slower, forming parallel channels like this, is generally very bullish. That's actually what I was saying in like my most recent video. Bitcoin managed to pump up out of that, which is absolutely phenomenal. We got a beautiful continuation here with very clear, situations where we've got at first a bit of our trend developing and then a bit of our trend basically what we call continuing or compressing or some other consolidating, whatever. There's a lot of different words for it. And then we have the next phase here where the trend continues, right? So we've got instances like this, trend continues, instances like this, trend consolidates, trend continues, trend consolidates. When you break down the chart like this, it actually becomes extremely simple to understand what's going on. And if that kind of thing is the first time you've heard it, it's actually one of the things that we cover early on in the 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝐺 Academy course. If you want to learn everything I know about analysis and trading, bam, steps are on screen right here to ask me how to get in there. But right here, what we did manage to see is a very nice pump to the upside. And guys, guess where we topped out? If I drop a horizontal line right here and we zoom out, this is exactly where Bitcoin found resistance before. So again, that is like the second, third, fourth prediction that I made in my most recent video that has come true 100%. This is the first place that we found resistance after the pump initiated in the early hours of today, which is absolutely beautiful because it does show us that we are continuing to respect basic tenets of technical analysis. Now, here's the really good news before we dive into the actual scenarios that we could be looking at. Here's the really good news. And by the way, my camera might be lagging a little bit. Not entirely sure why, but just bear with me. The really good news is that previously when we managed to get up here, we're on the 1 hour time frame here. Bitcoin within basically 2-3 hours, not even really that long, Bitcoin got a huge rejection of about 3-4% to the downside. But what's different about this time, ladies and gents, is we've been up here for a while now. When we hit that high up until where we are right now, it's been 9-10 hours that we've been trading around these areas and we haven't seen a big rejection yet. That is absolutely huge. I mean, let's just break it down logically. What that basically means is that the last time we came down to this level, the last time we came up to this level, the price wasn't able to hang around. The price had to dip down quickly. We just couldn't support that level of price action. This time, the bears are not selling as aggressively. The bulls are buying more aggressively. These are the right signs that we want to see in this market right here. And I'm actually just going to change my camera here to this one. Hopefully, this is going to be a little bit better for you guys for this YouTube video because that lag is really starting to annoy me. And so I really like that sign that we've been seeing in this market so far because it tells me that we could be able to sustain this price level a little bit more. And that's actually what I was talking to you guys about expecting on this YouTube channel, because what I also said is that I don't particularly expect this to be particularly heavy resistance. I certainly think that we can get a little bit higher. And that's kind of where I think Bitcoin could be headed. If we zoom out a little bit more, the real important level for Bitcoin is going to be this green box, in my opinion, which stretches between 18,500 and 19,600. This is a very important price level. It's huge. It was huge support for Bitcoin throughout basically a lot of last year, from all of the second half of last year, basically. This area was a huge area of support for Bitcoin, and naturally I'm going to expect that it turns into resistance for Bitcoin again. But the really good news, guys, is that we basically came up to touch it. We basically came up to touch it earlier on in December of last year, but then we had a really big pullback, right? Not only did we have a big pullback, but I mean, first of all, it stretched down by 11%, which is pretty decent in and of itself. But to get from that high down to our low took 16 days, and to get back here took basically a month. We've had a really nice correction, both in terms of price, because we corrected down by 10%, but also in terms of time, because we actually took our time to get back to this price level. And so when we're looking for corrections, when we're looking for abilities, situations where we can regain our strength in the markets, we want to see that the price cuts deep and the time takes, and the market takes its time. The reason that's essential. The reason both of those things are essential is that's more pain in the market. When we get more pain in the market, we just clean out the blood. We clean out the fresh blood. We clean out the impatient people. We get that cleanse in the market, and then we're ready to keep going up. It makes a lot of sense when you think of it that way. So here's the thing. Let's take a look at what situations we're potentially looking at. First of all, this is a very, very important level, which I have to highlight again because this is like the backbone of today's video. We're literally about to reach probably the strongest area of resistance that Bitcoin has on its chart, in my opinion. That used to be 30K. Now it's going to be in this range right here, purely because of all of this sideways trading that we had in the second half of last year. This level stretches back to $20,000. That first peak that we had way back in 2017 stretches back to the end of 2020 when we managed to get that huge breakout. Those of you that are watching this channel back there, you're going to know that our analysis was 100% on point basically all throughout this run up, and much higher as well. Very, very consistent analysis from this YouTube channel over these last few years, and shout out to those of you that have been supporting me through all of that. I really do appreciate that. If you do want to make sure you're catching all this time sensitive content, do me a favor, smash up the likes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure you got the bell icon checked as well, because again, this is time sensitive content. The sooner you can watch it after it's published, the better it's going to be for you. And if you want to take advantage of some of the cool offers that I've got available to you guys as subscribers of my YouTube channel, check out the links in the description down below to get a $5,000 deposit bonus on Bybit and 7K stacked on top of that with Prime XBT. These are free deposit bonuses that you can get, which you can trade with, right? So you get this money credited into your account free of charge when you make your deposit and trade. Actually, with Prime XBT, you don't even need to trade, and whatever money you make with those free bonuses, you get to keep. And if you don't make money, it doesn't matter. It was never your money to begin with. It's not your loss. But what I think is really, really important to cover just before we continue is the fact that this is historically a very, very important resistance level. And because of that, the first scenario, I want to tone it back a little bit. The first scenario that I want to discuss with you guys is going to be a potentially bad one. And it's going to be right here how, we could be looking at, so Bitcoin's actually been trading in, if we take a look at this, in a kind of downwards falling wedge pattern, which, by the way, these are generally bullish patterns. The reason they're generally bullish is, at first we moved down very quickly. You can see with this move down, this is the move from 30K down to 17. We move down very quickly, but then we start moving down slowly, right? And so that's just going to be a display of momentum. Originally, momentum to the downside was very strong. Now momentum to the downside is not as strong, which is because we can see that because we're not dropping down as quickly, which could be an indication that momentum is flipping, right? If momentum originally was very strong to the downside and it's getting weaker to the downside, well, it could end up reaching neutral levels like right here until eventually we kind of curve back up. So that's something which these patterns can generally show. Again, for Bitcoin, that is generally how it looks as well. So I think that's important to keep in mind. But resistance is resistance at the end of the day. This is the same box basically that I had drawn on this chart right here, showing you that if we do manage to get a rejection, this would actually make a lot of sense. We've still got that one-day Ichimoku cloud, which I've been warning you guys about in every single one of the videos I've made recently. I don't want to beat around the bush. This is going to be a difficult level to overcome in my opinion, but here are the facts. We've already encountered this level. If you want to count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times basically, maybe more depending on if you want to count the actual separate hits. We've encountered this resistance area many times so far over the last, call it like 6 months or so, and resistance levels get weaker the more you hit them. The other thing that I think is important is if you look at when we hit these resistance areas before, look at how thick the cloud was over here. The cloud was extremely thick. Over here, the cloud was extremely thick. Over here, it was very thin. We had a great opportunity to break out. This is when I was getting very, very bullish. And to be honest, Bitcoin really should have broke out. It was just the FTX drama. Those of you who were around, which is probably all of you back then, will remember this was basically right at the beginning of November. Bitcoin had one of its best chances ever to break out, and it literally just didn't because of factors that were completely out of our control, which is a huge shame. But we know that this was probably the correct course of action for the market because at that same time, the S&P 500 also rised up really, really nicely. So I'm almost going to just call that one an anomaly. I don't even want to act like the Ichimoku cloud kind of prevented Bitcoin from rising, because that was one of those kind of almost black swan events where the news just happened to drop at that time. It could have dropped a week earlier or 2 months later, and it was basically just down to luck. But nonetheless, we did get rejected at that Ichimoku cloud right there. A little bit thicker right here. We nearly came up to it within like 1%. And right now we have a comparatively thin cloud, right? Our cloud just isn't as thick as we saw it up here, and up here. We do have a thinner cloud right now. So I think that that is potentially going to be one of the factors that works in Bitcoin's favor. But again, nonetheless, this is a resistance area, and if we do end up seeing a drop, and we kind of tumble a little bit lower, that could take us down to the $14,000 level by the middle of February, which would only be about a month away from now, and that's a very, very nice level for Bitcoin to bottom out at. But the thing is, if we do lose this area right here, I'll obviously see that there's still good support for Bitcoin kind of all over the place around these ranges. But, what we have had here is we set a market low, around the beginning of November. We're now in, the middle of January. So it's been about 3 months since that happened, or 2 months. And to see that we've kind of consolidated, we've challenged the upside. If we come back down, to me, that would mean that we're going to have quite a serious sweep of these lows. We're probably going to quite seriously sweep these lows and drop significantly lower. So I don't know if the market would actually stop at $14,000, but it is still a possibility, and it is still worth talking about. But what I actually think is way more exciting, what I actually think is potentially more likely to happen if we continue to show strength, if we have kind of healthy pullbacks. And actually, what I want to do is just bring us back to the chart before I show you this next possibility, is talk to you about, what a healthy price action, bit of price action would look like right here. See, if we manage to get a pullback right now, which, by the way, I definitely think we're due for. I always say this, whether we're moving up or down. If we're moving up or down a little bit too much based on, just how much time is passing in the market, I'm always going to give out these warnings of, hey, this is starting to look a little bit unsustainable. The market hasn't been particularly strong over this last year, basically. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and just kind of lose all of my fucking rationale just because, or my rationality, I should say, just because the market has been pumping up for 10 days straight now. That's completely unacceptable. So here's the thing. I do think that we've got some potential for finding resistance right now. I mean, for fuck's sakes, this is a very heavy resistance range. And we've got, our Ichimoku cloud resistance piling on top of that as well. But the really good news is we have a lot of support now. If we take a look at this 4-hour EMA ribbon, it's got a huge spread, and it starts down at 17,200, stretches all the way up to 17,500. And actually, to me, is going to be a very, very good support level right around over here. There's a lot going for Bitcoin at this price level. Right here, we've got our green box that was previously acting as resistance. Look at this. Look at how consistently this box acted as resistance. And if I take this indicator off, it also acted as support right here. It also acted as resistance back here. We also nearly came down for a support test right here. This green box is huge for Bitcoin's price action, in my opinion. Next, we've got this green line where we have even more, quite precise hits of our chart right here. And after that, we've got the EMA ribbon, which I just showed you as well, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. On the daily time frame, we take a look at that EMA ribbon, and our EMA ribbon is at a similar level. Our EMA, I'm getting ahead of myself now. I'm getting very excited. Just got caffeinated. Our EMA ribbon on the 1-day time frame also stretches around the same price levels. If we dip down into this area now, yes, I know we don't have a huge spread right now, but we are getting all of these bullish crossovers showing us that momentum is shifting towards the upside on this longer term time frame. We're starting to get a lot of confluence here building in the very same range, which to me means that this could potentially turn into really strong support. If we do manage to come back down, if the market does send the price of Bitcoin back down, I think there's going to be a lot of support waiting for Bitcoin at this range, where basically I'm going to expect that, that there is a decent probability, at least a decent probability, that bears are going to decide to ease off on the selling and bulls are going to decide to ramp up their buying, simply because of all of these support areas that line up with the very same price level. Take a look at this 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. We're going to be finding support a little bit higher than this range, around the 17.4 up to 17.6k price range, which is going to be, basically just in 5 days from now. So, depending on how long it takes Bitcoin to drop down here, if we do, because of course we don't know if that would happen, still, this would be a really, really nice setup. So I don't think there's anything Bitcoin can do that would be bad on this chart right now. We got the breakout. We've had a really nice uptrend. On the daily time frame, we've been trending up too much, in my opinion. It's starting to look parabolic. We can't do this in a market like this. It's just going to mean that we're showing unsustainable price action. And at the moment, things aren't particularly unsustainable. I know that the Fear and Greed Index hasn't had a chance to update yet after all of this crazy price action, at least not as far as I've seen. I might be wrong about that. But what we have seen so far is that we're not getting big jumps up with our Fear and Greed Index. We're at a reading of 30 today. It's only moved up from 26. Previously when we saw price action like this, we might move from 26 up to 33. We're getting relatively smaller moves up with our fear and greed index, which basically just shows us that people are not getting as overly excited with the market now as they used to, which is again a really, really good sign, showing us that we could be ready to continue to rise up. When we get a lot of people piling on and getting very excited and feeling that fear of missing out, which I don't necessarily think is happening just yet, that's when I have to start saying, whoa, let's look at potentially putting on the brakes a little bit, because this might not last. This might not be a bit of sustainable price action. Right now, we're showing the right signs to show us that this could still steam ahead. And that, I think, is absolutely glorious. So let's go on to that next scenario that I wanted to break down for you guys. It's basically the same chart that I showed you earlier where we get rejected, but this is if we don't get rejected. And here's the thing. If we don't get rejected, what I want to do for you is show you the whole height of this kind of falling wedge pattern that we've been in. It stretches about 42% from our support level, from the earliest point where we get a support hit and a resistance hit. This is where I'm going to be stretching it up from. We get a 42% rise to the upside right here. And if we take that same 42% line and put it right at our breakout point, that takes us to a price of $26,500. That is an absolutely phenomenal price level for two key reasons, maybe even three, maybe even more. I'm going to get to them in just a second, because what we would have here is, number one, our Ichimoku cloud would be broken. Number two, we would be breaking out of a downtrend. Number three, this downtrend is something that's lasted like 6 months. This is basically a 6-month downtrend that we would be breaking. Number four, we'd be rising above $25,000, which is a macro higher high. Number five, and this is the biggest one, this is where you're going to be getting out your lotion, ladies and gents. That would also mean we'd be breaking out of this huge falling wedge. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. The falling wedge target, if we do manage to break out of this, would be $59,000, which is absolutely ridiculous to talk about right now in most people's minds. Now, it's not ridiculous to talk about in my mind, because nothing is ridiculous in these markets other than the fact that everything is ridiculous in these markets. And so you have to expect that crazy shit happens. But what I do want to point out is that it only takes a little bit of excited price action to set off a chain of dominoes where the price just really explodes to the upside. If we end up breaking out of this falling wedge, will we actually hit 59K? I don't know. I've been saying for a while, a little bit on the down low, but I have been saying it for a while that I honestly think levels like 40K are achievable even within a downtrend, even if we're going to be seeing a global economic crisis that we're in right now. If we're going to see this global economic crisis, I should clarify, get worse, I still think that we could be in a situation where Bitcoin gets a really nice rally to the upside, because that is just something that Bitcoin does. That's just something that speculative markets like this do. They're driven off fear and greed. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen something like this, right? I mean, if we zoom out and we take a closer look at what's been happening to Bitcoin, over the years, take a look at this. We had this huge downtrend for Bitcoin that started at $20,000. We fell all the way down to 3,000, but we still managed to form a ridiculously strong rally to the upside from 3K up to 14 within the same bear market that we dropped down to the 3K range in again. So these kind of rallies that are just kind of part of a wider downtrend are entirely possible. They've happened before. They're going to happen again. This is just the nature of markets like Bitcoin. And I think it's completely unreasonable to say that that's impossible to happen for Bitcoin right now, right? Just to get up to levels like 30K, even 40K, I think wouldn't be completely inconceivable, even if you're extremely bearish. In fact, if you're extremely bearish, this kind of price action would work in your favor, because think about how many, kind of long positions, how many, bits of how many traders with fresh blood are going to be trapped in long positions, trapped in open Bitcoin positions, trapped in fucking altcoin positions, in NFT projects that come back alive, which they're then going to be forced to sell if the price comes back down to where we are right now. Again, just a possibility. It's way, way too early to talk about stuff like this right now, but that's the point. We are traders at the end of the day, and our job as traders is to be open to ideas like this. And if we're not open to ideas just like this, just because, it's been a few months since we've been at those price levels, or because, you're emotionally upset that you've lost some money, you are not going to last in this space. That's just a point blank truth. You guys already know what you're getting when you come to this YouTube channel. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm not here to sprinkle fucking fairy dust on your crypto portfolio or anything like that. I'm going to say it exactly like it is, and part of that is being open to possibilities that people cannot entertain. Why do you guys think that when the price was at its peak right here, I was warning you guys that we were moving up a little bit too quickly, but now while we've been flatlining at levels of fear or extreme fear for the better the better half of a year, more than that even, it's been more than half a year overall that we've been kind of trading at these levels in terms of sentiment. Why is it at this time that I just cannot help but be a little bit more bullish than the status quo? I just can't do anything else but that, simply because I don't buy the hype, and you guys know that, and that's why you guys are coming to this YouTube channel. If you appreciate that, do me a favor and smash up the likes. Make sure you're subscribed as well. I've got another really big video coming for you all very soon as well, all about the best kind of things that I'm going to be putting into practice this year to potentially make some huge gains in crypto in 2023. The video is going to be titled like How to Become a Crypto Millionaire in 2023. Obviously, it's a big, very loud, colorful title, but the video content is phenomenal. You're going to really, really enjoy it. But bringing it back to this chart right here, I want to show you what could happen if we get this breakout. The reason that this is a really big deal is if we manage to break a long-term downtrend, that's going to mean that we're potentially releasing our shackles, our prison shackles or whatever, that are holding Bitcoin down, and that could really bring a big rush of excitement into the space, right? Because these markets are driven based off fear and greed, based off euphoria and fear, what we could end up seeing is that people get very, very excited, order books get very thin because nobody wants to sell their Bitcoins, and let's be honest, guys, people don't really want to sell their Bitcoins that much anymore. A lot of the people that wanted to sell Bitcoin have done so already. If we have this issue of supply being very constricted, we could start to see that if more buying demand comes in just because the price is exploding upwards, just because the economic forecast kind of looks like it's getting better, the dollar is dropping, the S&P 500 still has some really nice upside to go, with situations like this in our markets, I think that could mean that people get very, very excited with crypto, and potentially, we just go right back into the same cycle that we've played out, I don't know, like 100, 200, 5 million times over the last few years within the crypto space. It's the most typical situation that we find ourselves inside of this crypto space. And to say that it might repeat now is completely reasonable in my opinion. Bringing it back to this falling wedge as well, I just want to remind you guys that this is basically the same pattern for Bitcoin on a much larger time frame that we're seeing right here. This pattern started in June of last year. This pattern, however, started in kind of like May or May or late kind of November, December of 2021 up until where we are right now. We've managed to hit our support levels really well. We haven't really hit our resistance very much at all. But if we do manage to get a breakout, taking the same way to measure our target of plus 176% from this potential breakout point, that would put us at $59,000. Again, I don't want to talk about that price level too much right now, but we have a really nice opportunity to at least pump to the upside into that 20K range. And that I think is a much more reasonable discussion that we can start having even right now, simply because we are seeing some really nice opportunities to start breaking these key price levels. And if we do, that's also going to mean that not only, like I said, we'd be breaking that 25K level, which would be a macro higher high, it would also mean, in my opinion, that we'd be breaking levels like this, which aren't necessarily macro highs, but are still important highs to be breaking. Right now, it's pretty clear that we're in a trend of take a look at this. This high was at 25. This high was at, 23.8. This high was at 21.8. This high was at 18.4. If we manage to break above this high already, we're no longer setting lower highs, which would be the first time that we would do that within, since August, basically, August was the 8th month of this year. That's like 5 months ago, right? Something like that. Our first instance of breaking our trend of setting lower highs in 5 months. And if we manage to get above this one, that would be very, very significant, because the market was at a completely different phase back when we were over here, right? Now we're in a different range altogether. Yes, if we break a high within this range, that's cool, but it's not as impressive as getting back into a previous range that the market consolidated in for, basically from November to June, right? That's again 5 months of price action. To get back into that price range and to then reclaim one of those highs would be absolutely huge. And the really good thing, like I said, is that if the price drops from here, this is kind of why I'm not particularly scared of any worst case scenarios for Bitcoin at the moment, because if the price does drop from here, we have good support, and that's exactly what I was showing you earlier on in this YouTube video. Altcoins are also looking pretty juicy for the same reasons, but it is clear that Bitcoin is leading the market. Bitcoin up by 1.5%, Ethereum only up by 0.6%. Altcoins in general not performing as well, but we're still seeing a nice pump to the upside. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities floating around all of these markets. I'm going to be covering all of them with you very, very soon, but today I don't have time for that. If you do want to take advantage of this, if you want to jump in on this volatility, and if you want to trade it risk-free, check out the links in the description down below to gain access to Bybit, get your free $5,000. And apparently, like I said, there is a 30k bonus, but I couldn't find it, although they insist that there's a 30k bonus. Anyway, either way, you're getting thousands of dollars completely free of charge as deposit bonuses when you follow my link to sign up to Bybit in the description down below. And that is, again, money that you can trade with. This is the primary exchange I've been using for years. It's basically the only exchange I have been using. And I love them to bits. I've been, I was using Bybit as a client before I even started to work with them. So that's how much I love Bybit. And Prime XBT, very much a similar case in terms of how much I love these guys, because they allow you to trade these traditional markets, including the S&P 500, commodities, and Forex. Again, all with just a Bitcoin deposit. And this bonus is super straightforward. Regardless of how much you deposit onto Prime XBT, you're getting 7% of that credited back into your account as a deposit bonus, up to $7,000. You can get up to $7,000 in deposit bonuses on Prime XBT, which again is going to be capital that they give you for free that you can trade with. It's basically like demo money, but the difference is if you make money with it, you get to keep it, and if you don't make money with it, it was free cash to begin with. It's like if I just give you 7k, you don't really care about losing my money, right? That's what these exchanges are offering you right now, which I think is very, very, very cool indeed. If you do want to take advantage of it, the links to join them are going to be in the description down below. And if you want to see how I'm going to be trading these markets within 2023, how I'm going to be slaying these markets, how I'm going to be making sure that I can control my losses and maximize my profits in these market conditions live right in front of you, and we're both looking at the same chart, then follow these steps on screen by following that Telegram channel link in the description down below, then clicking on my name at the bottom of any post inside of that Telegram channel, and then send message to ask me how to join 𝗪𝗪 VIP. If you want to get inside the 𝗪𝗪 Academy course, it's the exact same steps as well. Most of you that join VIP will be getting the course for free anyway, and that is a really powerful combination, because you're going to be able to see how I'm implementing the theory of how to trade, how I trade, I should say, how I analyze, and so on. You're going to be seeing that theory with the course alongside the practical application of it within VIP, where I'm literally applying those same lessons, those same principles right in front of you on these charts. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do if you have. Hit up the like, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. Hugely, hugely pumped for this YouTube video, as you could tell. And I will see you all in the next one, which will be, by the way, later on tonight. I'm going to be giving you guys an update on this market later on tonight. All right, take it easy. Cheers. Bye.